Derrick Lewis never left. How would you like to word it, right? We find out that Derrick Lewis's contract was up, and this is very relevant. And I wanted to make a point to you guys that Derrick's contract being up was the UFC's idea. And the reason I wanted to draw that distinction, I'm going back a week, but the reason I wanted to draw that distinction is we have seen guys in the land of milk and honey eventually take the gun and turn it back. And Derrick was in a position of leverage. Francis Ngannou and the PFL in 2024 and an opponent that no one's even speculating about, right? I mean, it's a really hard thing to even guess who that would be just by looking at who is available. Before we get to who would it be, we will start with who could it be? So then when you have Derrick Lewis pop up, it's a very meaningful and recognizable name. It would be a rematch. It would seem to solve a few problems. It would seem as though an option. We can leave it at that, but it would seem as though an option. And it would seem as though a game that Derrick could begin to play. So I felt it very important to make sure that you understand that's not the situation. This was a decision made by the UFC so that you understand that Derrick was not looking to use or leverage or point a gun on anybody. It was essentially an algorithm. I use that word because I can't think of a better word. There's essentially a formula that a guy at a certain age is not the guy that you re-sign and start, that you're looking for the 19, the 24-year-old, that you can blossom and groom and turn into a recognizable name, somebody that's willing to part with their time and money to see. Great, that's the business. Well, the algorithm isn't always right. And it's very difficult to say to Derrick Lewis or Derrick Lewis supporters, which is all of us, you're too old to do this. It's very difficult to say that when he just did this perfectly. I might have to put it perfect. How would you critique it? If you were a strict MMA coach and you had to really break down what would you say he should have done different? You'd be in a really hard spot. It was as close to perfect as I believe we've ever seen. And that's just the athletic side. He then has this moment with Joe Rogan that nobody's talking about, but that was one of the great sports moments between a commentator and an athlete. You have Joe Rogan, who is a consummate professional and a trained comedian, who is laughing to the point that he's losing his spot. There was sentences that Joe didn't fully form to this day because Derrick had Joe in a different headspace. I mean, it was special. And you have a crowd, your ultimate focus group right here at the crowd, giving their approval. And okay, great. Well, what are we going to do now? Everything seems to be going Derrick's way. We should have re-signed him. We have this algorithm and we follow it and we got a lot of things to do and things slip through the cracks and it looks like maybe this is one. What are we going to do now? He's going to go take to the media and it's going to be one of these things. He'll be nice for a little bit and then he's going to be not nice. And then he's going to make threats and this is the way this is done. No, no. Nope. Derrick said right there in that moment, I would like to be re-signed. He didn't do any discussion and talk about other organizations and talk about pay and talk about my manager's got a meeting with and we'll see what happens. All the things that you always hear, he did none of them. He treated that situation different. And he was treated different. I would just bring that to your attention. I'd bring it to your attention. You've got to study these things. You find yourself in the same spot. How should I act? How does somebody else act? Well, what did they get? All right, it's one of these deals. And I got to go back, talking about Derrick, to the same word of perfect. He handled it perfect. Now he's got an 8-fight deal. By the way, Which if I would have predicted, right, we're doing this to be nice. Like that algorithm I reference where someone slipped through the crack, that algorithm's damn good, right? Everybody's got an expiration point. At some point, a guy at X age is not going to be producing or reproducing for you. That's true in the form of athletic performance. That's accurate. And you get these Tom Brady types. I remember back when I was a kid, there's a guy named Emmitt Smith. Played for Dallas, but was one of these things. The algorithm says he can't do it anymore. The numbers say he's the best one doing it. Derrick had a perfect performance, he had a perfect interview, and he had a perfect negotiation. And that perfect negotiation was nothing more than him saying, this is what I would like to do, and being friendly as he said it. It was different. And while he acted different, he got something quicker and more expedient that was what he wanted, which is different than a lot of other experiences.